Good morning, and how are you? I want to continue the series of corruption inside the Catholic system. Constantine, who was persecuting the early Christians during the Roman Empire, mercilessly and viciously, savagely went around orchestrating the deaths of thousands upon thousands of Christians. And obviously Christianity, or the Christian faith as it were, was spreading around Rome. So obviously the message was obviously being received by the masses, and thus the position and power of the Roman influence was under threat. Now, if we compare Rome and Europe, Britain and America, what happens, if I may use this analogy? The Republicans are supposed to stand for family values and heterosexual tradition. But because many people have accepted the LGBT, many people have accepted this movement, suddenly the Republicans, the conservatives, have given way and dropped their values and ended up promoting LGBT. Donald Trump, for instance, has now embraced the LGBT movement. Why? It's all about being popular. And the Roman Empire was no different. They realized, in order to, what made the Roman Empire unique was that, like Tony Blair, the Labour Party, he decided he had to be brought Labour into a new level of political consciousness. So what he had to do was to create a Labour government that was really having a middle road, half Labour, half Tory. So he really had no integrity, but rather he became a popularist, giving people what they want from both spectrums. And someone like that, you don't really know where they stand in politics, because one foot is in the other camp and the other foot is in the, so those kind of people, it's quite difficult, like trying to wrestle with the Hindu gods. You know, 360 of them. You can't. There's so many to choose from. And that is when you start to create a smokescreen of spiritual utter confusion, because there is no real foundation or definition in which to define a system or individual philosophy or beliefs. So when Constantine became, in quote unquote, a Christian, even the scholars were questioning his motives. Now, the history books that I read some time back, I concluded that it's like marketing purposes. Constantine only did that in which to maintain his power. He had political power, military power, but what made him unique is that now he wanted power over people's minds and heart. He was the modern day Lady Diana, queen of people's hearts and mind. So the Roman Empire wanted to have control over people's hearts and mind, and what better way than to do that than to promote a political, spiritual ideology. And thus the Roman Church was born. Thus every pagan was to become Catholics, because under Constantine, because he became a Christian, all the persecution stopped. Talking about confusion, one begins to have to ask the question, what happened to the early church? the early Christians who remained true to the apostolic faith. Obviously, they became syncretic, integrated into this Catholic Christian ideology and philosophy, thinking that they were sharing the brotherhood and wine and feast of a Christian emperor. But of course, there were sinister purposes. He was not a Christian. He embraced an Hellenistic type of Christianity, and thus when you embrace Hellenism, what you have is hell. And thus the church, quote unquote, they then decide, because you're still under the emperor's influence, they decide doctrine, theology, philosophy, and social values. And thus the dragon appears as a lamb. How then did the Catholic Church have so much power that they embraced the whole of Rome? Quite easily. Just like Muhammad, who managed to entice the pagan world by promising them boys made from pearls to appease the homosexual community in Arabia. In these magic bags of tricks, Muhammad was able to meet all the needs of the perverted groups. So the Catholic Church, what they did, they introduced Mary worship, Mother Goddess. For what reason? Why would a Catholic Church want to introduce the worship of a human being? It stands to reason. You want power, you want to synchronize, you want to be popular. So you please the masses, like today's politician. Tell people what they want to hear. Keep them happy. Give them LGBT, give them feminist, and you're a liberal. You're happy. Well, what the Catholic Church did, they introduced Mariology. They introduced the praying to the dead saints. Even though they totally disregard Leviticus, they totally disregard the Hebrew faith and creed, when it tells you you should not contact the dead, you should not indulge in necromancy. Yet the Catholic Church saw it fit to embrace witchcraft, demonology, spiritualism, because it became a haven of total spiritual confusion. Why? It defined and it became all authority. Whatever the Catholic Church says, because it is a church, they are the perverted form of the Vicar of Christ. So rather than showing you the true Messiah, they are the Messiah. They are David Koresh. They are the cult leaders, using Christ's name as a promotional package, a footnote in which to bring across their perverted political and spiritual ideology. So this confusion was what built the power structure of this Catholic Church, where you dare question it, and therefore all the liturgies and all their sermons was done in Latin. So the peasants like you and I would not know what they were saying, but we all became Catholics anyway. It's like someone saying, you know, Je me rappelle, you know, Femme la porte, you know, Je me rappelle. You say, what the hell is saying? But I'll still convert. And that's what the Catholics did. They spoke in Latin. And many people have been Hail Mary, full of grace. They were religious more than ever. Yet they couldn't understand what the hell the Catholics were saying. The power of brainwashing, the power of giving someone authority over your life. You can't even understand Latin, yet you're converting praying to Mary. That is the state of brainwashing. And because the church obviously had that power and decide that once Constantine died, then all of a sudden they build a model. One, how the Pope or the Catholics argue today, we have our power from Peter. He was the first Pope. He was. I don't think Peter would want to be called Holy Father. I don't think Peter would want to be called Pope. He was just an apostle of Christ. What the Catholic Church did, they perverted the title of Peter. Why? Because they mistranslate the text deliberately. Cephas, Peter, upon this rock I shall build my church. This is nothing new. Many Christian denominations twist and manipulate the Bible to suit their denominational agenda, which my book goes into in quite depth. I left Christianity and found Christ. This is my new book which is coming out. I left Christianity and found Christ. The church is corrupt. They tell you what their denominational theology is. They're not giving you truth. And the Catholic Church, they are the biggest corrupt system out. For the simple reason, I don't know any Christian denomination that celebrate and indulge in spiritual worship, orgy, child abuse, incest, which I will go into in the third part series. I will also try to tackle the Middle Ages, how corrupt the Catholic Church became, where they took money and built, an economic empire out of deliberately and knowingly lying to the peasants, telling them that they had the bones of St. Peter. And all the dumb Catholics who are out there buying the bones of St. Peter's thought they would be blessed. They had so many bones they were selling, you can build a Titanic ship. You can build a mansion made out of bones. But the Catholic Church still continued lying and thieving. And you have 1 billion dumb masses of Catholics on the earth today. Lawyers, doctors, teachers, scientists, judges, they're all Catholics. The power of brainwashing. Part 3 to come. You don't want to miss it.